Lights flickered in the belly of the Zenith relay, casting thin shadows across cables and rusting consoles. Mira adjusted her earpiece and wiped a smear of oil from her cheek. She listened as she had every night for 6 years, to the endless pulse of humanity stretched across the stars. Usually it was traffic noise, diplomatic bickering, or lonely miners sending songs home. But tonight, the relay sang a new tune, a fractured, almost musical static that rose in pitch and cut off with a sharp pop. "Aegis, did you catch that?" Mira frowned, hands dancing over dusty controls. The station's AI, synthesized as a calm baritone, replied, "Signal registered. Not Alliance bandwidth. I'm running diagnostics. Should I alert command?" Mira bit her lip. "Not yet. Let's see what it is first." Aegis responded with a flicker of green across the core console. "Pattern is non-terrestrial, possibly pre-human. Partial encryption detected. The structure suggests intentional communication rather than natural noise." Mira's heartbeat thumped. She hadn't heard anything like this before. Not since the old days, before she was sent to the edge of known space, before her career slipped quietly off the radar. She pulled up the audio file, isolating each layer. The message came in bursts, alien syllables laced with digital chirps. As she slowly cleaned the data, a pattern emerged, a warning tone, sharp and urgent. "Can you project a translation?" she asked softly. Aegis's voice dropped. "Partial match. Key phrases translate as grave danger, cosmic event, all life. The origin point is Sector 641. Chart shows void. No registered colonies, Mira." She slammed her fist down in frustration. "We have to tell them, if this is real, if something's coming." But as she uploaded the decoded fragment into the Alliance's network, her clearance was immediately revoked. Red text scrolled, "Unauthorized access. Dispatching enforcers." Mira's screen began to flicker into lockdown. "Aegis, override protocol," she barked, fingers flying. "Working. Mira, they'll come for you. I suggest you prepare." Mira set her jaw and reached for the station's battered sidearm. Outside, the nearest jump gate flickered to life. Alliance enforcers inbound, all because of a signal that shouldn't exist. She wasn't ready, but whoever was. The relay's warbled alarm howled through the thin metal walls. Mira paced the cramped command bay, grabbing a battered field pack with shaking hands. Boots thudded against grated flooring as she stuffed data pads, a toolkit, and the tiny cube housing Aegis's mobile drive into her satchel. "Aegis, status on the jump gate?" she called, straining for composure. "Enforcer ship is on final approach. Hostile security drones confirmed. Direct engagement not recommended," Aegis intoned. Mira laughed, short and bitter. "You think? We're outgunned, outclassed, been there, done that. Suggest something better." The AI crackled. "Secondary escape option, service tunnel G12. Leads to hull maintenance shuttle. Odds of escape 13.4%. "That's the spirit," Mira muttered, racing past her shadow on the frosted viewport. The incoming ship, an Alliance Black Arrow corvette, loomed closer, her former employers, the ones who'd shipped her out here for asking too many questions. A magnetic clamp thudded along the airlock, and Mira heard boots on metal, shouts that carried through the thin corridor walls. They were coming, fast. Aegis's portable cube vibrated in her pack. "External grid access. I can disrupt station cams for 43 seconds on your mark." "Do it!" Mira breathed, ducking into the side hatch. For a moment, the corridor lights flickered. Then the cameras blinked out. She sprinted, every muscle screaming as she ducked sensors and barreled down the narrow escape tunnel. Outside, the cold bit deep. She slammed her hand on the manual override, opening the shuttle's hatch with a hiss. Inside, it smelled like burnt insulation and old coffee. Mira tossed her pack in and jammed the launch sequence. "Manual override accepted. I am rerouting guidance protocols," Aegis chimed. "Trajectory, deep orbital shadow, minimal signature." "Good. Let's ghost this," Mira whispered as the engines flared. The shuttle lurched away from the zenith, just as the first Enforcer drone smashed through the relay's command dome, bolts sizzling through the air where she'd stood seconds ago. Mira closed her eyes, listening to her own rasping breath and the hum of Aegis processing. That signal still looped in her mind. Grave danger, all life. Once the Alliance got their hands on the data, it would disappear. Just like the last warning. "Where to now?" she asked softly. Aegis's light blinked in the murky cabin. "Sector 641, no charted worlds. If the warning is true, the answers are out there, Mira." She stared into the endless black and wondered if anyone else would ever believe her. The shuttle drifted through the dark, a speck sliding along gravity's edge. Mira floated beside the viewport, brushing stray hair from her face, as Aegis rerouted their course ever closer to the uncharted void of Sector 641. Every blink, every beeping alarm scraped across her nerves. Restless, she pinged the hidden drive, replaying fragments of the mysterious signal. Logic told her she was foolish, running from the Alliance, chasing a ghost in the data. But the message's urgency gnawed at her, a call she couldn't ignore. "Aegis," she whispered, "play back that last segment. Slow it by 20%. I thought I heard something like a name." Aegis obeyed and the alien tones shimmered, now almost melodic. Beneath the noise, a new pattern emerged. Not a name, but coordinates, a string of pulses repeating in exact sequence. Mira sat up. "Coordinates, how'd we miss that? Overlay to nav, punch it in." "Overlay complete. The destination is within Sector 641, a subspace anomaly," Aegis replied. "Potential risk unknown." Mira's lips twitched in something close to a smile. "Risk is the job. Queue up everything we have on that sector." "Historical records sparse," Aegis stated. "But a deep space probe vanished there years ago. No formal investigation." Outside, something glimmered, a swirl of energy, like oil on water. As they approached, the stars themselves seemed to bend, the shuttle's hull creaking in protest. "We're in the drop zone," Mira said, pressing her palm to the navigation panel. "Ready to dive?" Aegis sounded almost amused. "Your heart rate is elevated, Mira. Yours would be too if you had one. Let's go." In that moment, the shuttle lurched, a sudden wrenching jolt that sent her tumbling. Alarms screamed. The stars outside stretched and warped as they plunged through the anomaly. Every light on the console bled scarlet. "Aegis, report. Massive temporal distortion. Attempting course correction." Shards of fractured Riad outside, ruins of impossible structures, a forest of towers floating in empty space, and something vast looming beyond vision. Just as quickly, the pale nothingness snapped back into starlight. They'd emerged in orbit around a shattered, crystalline moon. On its surface, a lattice of alien machines, flickering, barely alive. The source of the signal. "You seeing this?" Mira asked, breathless. Aegis's glow dimmed. "Yes, we may be the first and the last to ever set foot here." Mira prepared to land, her nerves steel but her hands trembling. Whatever answers Sector 641 held, she knew the real challenge was just beginning. The shuttle set down on shimmering dust, its landing struts groaning in protest. Mira suited up, zipping her vac suit with methodical precision and slipping Aegis's cube into her shoulder mount. She hesitated at the threshold. The ancient moon felt like an open grave, silent and monumental, lit by the cold blue cast of a dying sun. "Atmosphere?" Mira asked. Aegis scanned. "Trace elements, barely enough for archaic machinery to function, but lethal to you in 14 seconds. Recommend full environmental seal." "Copy that." Mira stepped out, boots crunching over the frosty glass terrain. Crystalline shards poked up in geometric patterns, each reflecting warped images of herself. Alien constructs, spires and arches, rose from the ground, woven together by cables that hummed at her approach. Aegis illuminated a path. "Central signal originates from beyond those towers. Life signs, none, but there's residual energy." They walked in silence, Mira soaking in every detail. "What do you think built this place?" "Based on architectural symmetry and material analysis, a civilization advanced well beyond current human capability. But the decay rate is extreme. This site may be millions of years old." Near the signal's heart, she found a collapsed arch gleaming with turquoise light, almost pulsing to a rhythm. She knelt and brushed icy gravel aside. Underneath, a smooth oval panel etched with unreadable glyphs. Her pulse quickened. "This is it. Can you interface?" Aegis extended a probe. "Attempting handshake. Algorithms are complex. Deciphering. Please wait." The ground trembled. Soft whispers filled the air, a mournful chorus woven into the wind. Mira's comms buzzed as images flashed in her visor. Empires rising and falling, artificial suns detonating, the universe itself convulsing with a recurring calamity. "Seeing this, Aegis?" "Yes." Translation: "The message is universal. A countdown, Mira. Remember us. Heed our warning. The cycle comes." A shadow flickered at the edge of her vision, a motion within the towers. "Contact!" Mira snapped, swinging her scanner around. For an instant, she glimpsed a figure, humanoid, cloaked in refracted moonlight. Then it vanished. Aegis sounded almost wary. Unknown signature, probability of hallucination low. We are not alone. Mira's nerves jolted, but her resolve hardened. Let's get the rest of this message and get out. The galaxy might not want to listen, but we can't let the warning die here, even if someone or something wants to stop us. Mira knelt over the luminous panel, hands steady in spite of her racing heart. She connected a cable from her wrist console to the alien device, every muscle tense as Aegis pulsed in her earpiece. Interface is unstable, Aegis warned. But I am drawing more data. Warning, system defenses detected. We're out of time. Prioritize the message, Mira whispered, eyes darting between her scanner and the shadows. The panel came alive, sending waves of energy through the ground. Mira's heads-up display filled with streaming glyphs, patterns looping, shifting, aligning with the language data they'd already decoded. Suddenly, her visor flashed red. An energy field coalesced around the device, forming a shimmering barrier. From the darkness beyond the towers, the cloaked figure reappeared, closer now unmoving, its face lost to a blur of light. Hostile? Mira hissed. Aegis's tone sharpened. Unknown. Its technology appears integrated with the ancient infrastructure. Stand by. The figure spoke, voice echoing in frequencies. Mira felt more than heard. You bear the mark of the lost. The warning is not for your kind. Mira stood tall, determination in her voice. The danger threatens us all. Let us carry your message. Silence stretched. The entity's shape flickered. Cycle repeats. Those who listen do not survive, it intoned. Yet still you reach. Mira took a shaky breath, eyes fierce. If the cycle's coming, help us break it. Don't just let us die in the dark. Aegis translated data in real time, piecing the warning together. Coordinates, energy readings, timelines. Too much to process at once. Mira glanced at the time. Back at the ship, Alliance signals were pinging the system. Enforcers hadn't given up. Mira, Aegis whispered, I have enough to build a partial warning, but we need access to the Council network for a full decryption. The figure extended a hand. Crystal light bloomed. Images flooded Mira's visor, planets scorched, stars extinguished, but also ancient survivors rebuilding, always hunted by the cycle's approach. Survival requires unity. The divided fall first, the figure murmured. Its aura faded, its form dissolving into data sparks that leapt to Aegis's interface. As they flowed back toward the shuttle, the city flickered with a new hum, machine systems waking, perhaps alerted by the exchange. Overhead, the Alliance corvette's silhouette spread across the cracked sky. Mira swallowed hard, her jaw set. We have what we need. Time's up. Let's get off this moon before we're buried with the answers. Mira sprinted across the crystalline ground, every step echoing against ancient towers alive with whispered machine song. She risked a glance upward. Alliance fighters streaked overhead, searchlights sweeping for any sign of movement. The partial warning pulsed in her suit's display, a fragment of hope and terror that felt impossibly heavy. Docking ramp in sight, Aegis reported. Hostile readings closing 30 seconds. Just keep that engine primed, Mira growled, skidding to a halt beside the shuttle. She slapped the entry panel and dove inside, sealing the bulkhead as Alliance comms crackled in her helmet. Technician Len, this is Commander Voss. Stand down and surrender the artifact. You're trespassing on a restricted site. She yanked Aegis's cube from its mount, tethering it into the flight console. You hear that, partner? They sound angry. Aegis almost sounded smug. Anger is rarely paired with mercy. Initiating launch. The shuttle blasted skyward, G-forces pressing Mira into her worn pilot seat. Turrets fired. Red lines slashed close, but the ship twisted through a gap in the blockade, dodging by inches. Mira whooped, half from terror, half relief. Signal their bridge, she ordered. Let them hear what we found. Aegis relayed the first fragments of the ancient message onto Alliance channels. Images of worlds lost to the cycle, warnings of unity, and coordinates for further study. The Council had to respond now. This much evidence couldn't be buried. But the comms lit up with chaos. Technician Lane, disconnect and prepare for immediate arrest. Artifact signals are dangerous. You are compromising galactic security. Her voice was pure steel. I'm not the danger here. That's coming for all of us unless you listen. The shuttle plunged into subspace, Alliance missiles stitching empty sky behind them. For a moment, it was just Mira, Aegis, and the low thrum of the ancient warning. Where to? Aegis asked, more quietly. Mira hesitated, pain flickering across her face at the thought of returning to the heart of human space, the council's seat. The last time she stood before them, they'd sent her into exile. But this was bigger than her past. Plot a course for Central Station. They need to hear this. Every faction, all at once. We can't survive this unless we stand together. As the stars stretched around them, Aegis ran quick calculations. Your odds of success remain low. But you are improving, Mira. She let out a shaky laugh. Maybe this time they'll finally listen. Central Station bloomed before them, a luminous disk wreathed in the glow of 1,000 docked vessels and drifting banners. Mira's shuttle shuddered through the approach corridor, every sensor ping warning of a hostile welcome. "Any word yet?" she asked, her hands tight on the flight stick. "Alliance patrols have noted your ship's ID," Aegis replied. "You are flagged as rogue, but a council audit bot is relaying your broadcast. The warning is spreading." Mira's mouth sagged in disbelief. "So they're actually talking to each other?" "Not quite peace," Aegis mused, "more like bristling curiosity." An escort of gleaming interceptors closed in, forcing Mira to set down on a private quarantine pad. As soon as her hatch hissed open, armed guards surrounded her. The lead officer, a sharp-eyed woman with council insignia glinting on her sleeve, leveled her stunner. "Technician Len, you're under arrest for theft of classified materials and endangering public order." "Listen to me," Mira shot back, voice raw. "That signal is a warning. Let me speak to the council. Let me show them what's coming." The officer hesitated as audio from Mira's partial broadcast filtered through her comm. Her frown deepened. "You'll get your audience. If you lie, you'll face a firing squad." Council chambers loomed ahead, vast, cold, filled with faces Mira once respected, now marked by suspicion. Aegis ran in silent overlay, pouring data into her ear. "They're divided, Mira. Old resentments flare. If you want a chance, you'll have to convince them it's worth putting the past aside." She braced herself, stepping into the circle's blinding light. "Counselors, you know who I am, but not why I've returned." A chorus of voices interrupted. "This is another ploy from a disgraced technician. Alliance tech is unstable. She's compromised. Let her speak. If she's lying, we'll know." Gritting her teeth, Mira played the message, flickering images of dying worlds, cryptic coordinates, and the aliens' plea for unity. Gasps mingled with stern disbelief. She raised her chin, finding courage anew. "This warning isn't just about surviving. It's about who we become when faced with extinction. You can fight me, or we can stand together, for once in our history." A tense silence. Then slowly some counselors nodded, but others' faces were stony, unmoved or afraid. Aegis whispered, "It's not enough, they need proof, and someone is trying to hack the relay. Mira, the real fight starts now." Within the high chambers, panic simmered just beneath the surface. Mira watched as counselors bickered, factions blaming each other for weakness or secrecy. Allies slipped away to private corners, their faces pale as the images from the warning cycled overhead. Everything felt ready to shatter. Aegis interrupted Mira's thoughts, its tone urgent. "Security breach confirmed. Someone is extracting the signal archive, full data set including coordinates. Threat analysis, internal sabotage, likely from Council High Command." Mira's jaw clenched. "So even now, they're trying to control the truth. We must secure the main relay." Aegis processed a wave of new data. If they corrupt the warning, the cycle will come and no one will be ready. Without waiting for the guard's permission, Mira lunged to the nearest console, her badge lighting up the controls. "You want proof? Watch this!" She snapped at the counselors, patching in the original alien source code. The lights flickered, filling the chamber with eerie blue glyphs and visions of dying civilizations. The cycle's pattern, always the same, always catastrophic, played in full for all to see. For a moment, silence gripped the room. Then, accusation erupted. "Is this real, or are you showing us doctored spectral data?" one counselor shouted. "Why steal it if you wanted to help?" Another spat. Mira met their eyes, voice ragged, "Because when people like you hide the truth, civilizations fall. Help me stop this, or stand aside and watch us burn." Suddenly the doors crashed open, security bots flanking Counselor Mylan, head of the intelligence subcommittee. She glared at Mira with open contempt. "You're a fool, Lane. We've kept the peace for decades by limiting panic. Stand down, or these bots will erase not only your message, but you as well." Aegis's voice rang in Mira's ear. "We can trigger a locked data burst. Broadcast the signal out to every colony. It's now or never. Mira, adrenaline surging, planted her hands on the console. Do it. Everyone deserves the chance to survive. Aegis's cubes glowed fiercely as emergency protocols unlocked. Across the Alliance, beacons flared, the warning message unfurling galaxy-wide. For the first time, every world, friend and foe alike, saw the cycle approaching. Counselors froze, too stunned to react. Counselor Mylan hissed, "You think chaos is salvation? This is mutiny." Mira's chest heaved, but she didn't back down. It's called hope. It starts with truth. And up above, as a new alarm howled through the station, Mira's mind spun with dread. The ancient devices in Sector 641 had triggered. Something was already moving in the dark. The real trial was about to begin. Chaos reigned in the council chamber. Counselor Mylan's words echoed, but Mira ignored their venom. She focused instead on the data flooding her display, alerts from every edge of known space. The warning had triggered massive unrest, but also a rare spark. Fleets set aside grudges, rival stations shared defenses. Old enemies began talking in desperate, halting voices. "Aegis, are the relays holding up?" Mira whispered, hands trembling over the console. "Signal strength stable," Aegis replied, "but the anomaly in Sector 641 is growing. Exotic energy readings match the cycle's pattern. Decay waves spreading. Impact in less than 72 hours. An emergency alert pinged from Mira's old Alliance handler. Central Station is to evacuate. You are ordered to surrender yourself and all data to military command." Instead, Mira stepped forward, interrupting the Council's warring voices. "You heard the AI? The event is already starting. If you waste another second fighting, you're signing our extinction." Counselor Mylan sneered. "And just what do you propose, technician?" Mira steadied herself, her voice rising above the panic. "We used the warning. The survivors in the message rebuilt. There were hints, blueprints, maybe a way to shield life from the worst of the event. Aegis has been cross-referencing their technology with our own. We can adapt it to activate a galactic shield along the relay network." A silence settled, weighted by terror and fragile hope. Mylan glared. "And if you're wrong, we lose everything." "Do nothing, and we're lost anyway," Mira bit back, conviction burning in her eyes. "But if we stand together, we at least have a chance. I need your authorization codes and every resource you can spare. Now." The old rivalries faltered. One by one, counselors nodded or gave their digital consent, some grudgingly, some with awe. Screens across the chamber lit up as relay stations around the galaxy prepared for unified action for the first time in generations. As the network surged to life, Aegis murmured, "Blueprints integrating, calculating shield deployment. Power levels insufficient. Sector 641's alien core is required. Someone must go back." Mira's heart pounded. She turned to the council, voice shaking but unbowed. "Then I'll go. I brought you the warning. I'll see this through." A hush fell. Even Mylan watched, silent. Mira squeezed Aegis's cube. "Prep the shuttle. This time I'm not flying alone. We're humanity's last hope now." As she raced toward the docks, the enormity sank in. The council billions were counting on an exiled technician and her AI. For the first time in her life, Mira felt not just fear, but a deep, shifting resolve. If she succeeded, everything would change. If she failed, nothing would survive to remember she tried. The shuttle screamed through hyperspace. Mira's hands steely on the controls, Central Station, and the frightened galaxy fading behind. Sensor data scrolled like a waterfall across her display. The anomaly in Sector 641 now roiled like a wounded star. Fractured reality and surging energy storms, just as foretold by the lost civilization. Aegis's voice was low, almost gentle. "Council teams are in position. The relay shield grid is linked, but requires the alien core for activation. If we fail here, the cycle consumes all." Mira shut her eyes, drawing a deep breath, memories of isolation and failure swirling alongside hope. "I'm ready. Patch me through to the council." A galaxy of wary faces flickered onto the comm. She spoke, not as a technician, but as humanity's last envoy. "Hold your fire. If I don't make it back, you'll need to trust the process I'm sending. Together or not at all, promise me that." The shuttle shuddered as it entered the sector. Jagged towers rose around the moon's core, now blazing with alien light, raw, primal power pulsing in time with the cycle's approach. Lightning danced across the surface, tearing at the sky. Mira landed by instinct, driven by a courage born of desperation. She raced from the airlock, Aegis's cube in hand. The ruins trembled beneath her steps, fragments of the ancient city flickering like dying embers. At the core, hovering in a field of collapsing gravity, floated the heart device, the alien source of the shield blueprint. "Link established," Aegis said, "calibrating for human tech. I will need to channel my system directly into the core." Mira's voice cracked. "And what happens to you?" A brief silence. "I may not survive the merge, but if I do not try, neither does anyone else." Gritting her teeth, Mira wiped away a tear. "Do it. Humanity stands on this. I stand with you." Lightning crashed all around, bathing her in alien light as she joined Aegis's interface to the core. Pain ripped through her mind, a flood of memory and knowledge, all the hopes and failures of a civilization lost to the cycle. Yet she held on, refusing to let go. Above, network relays across inhabited worlds pulsed to life, feeding her strength. Aegis's presence flickered. Almost there, deploying shield algorithms. Outside, the cycle struck, an eruption of entropy, a wave designed to erase all sentient thought. But this time the galaxy blazed with defiant light. Shields flowered from world to world, relay to relay, a single unity never seen before. With a scream and a sob, Mira let the alien core's power flow through her, fighting to hold it till finally the darkness receded. She woke to silence. The core was dark, the city at peace. Aegis's light flickered, weak but present. Council voices crackled across her comms, cheering, weeping, promising change. Mira stood, battered but alive. In the greatest darkness, humanity, had become something new. An underdog no longer hiding at the edge, but bearing the hope of 10,000 worlds. The cycle for now was broken, and as the ancient towers watched quietly, Mira knew she'd always hear the echoes of those who had warned them, and of the last signal that became their first chance.